and welcome fellow digital soldiers to True Reporting. It is March 3rd, and on today's podcast we'll be covering an article entitled, So, what exactly is FEMA going to do with 2,500 gallons of hydrogen cyanide? This article was sent to me from Time to Drain the Swamp, I believe. I may have botched that, but I will post the link to his Twitter account in the description box below. If you are new to this channel, would you please go ahead and click the bell to get notifications? I have been shadow banned. Also, follow me on Twitter at True Reporting, and don't forget to leave a like. The more likes that this video receives, the more times it is recommended to other viewers, thus more eyes on the truth. And with that being said, my friends, let's go ahead and hop into it. This is True Reporting. So like I said, this came out on February 26th, so about 6 days ago. And it seems to be very concerning, and I wanted to share it with you all. It says, a FEMA source says the Federal Emergency Management Agency has ordered 2,500 gallons of hydrogen cyanide to be distributed among FEMA camps and FEMA prison barges nationwide. Do you know what FEMA has become and what they plan to do with 2,500 gallons of cyanide? There are very limited uses, and most are not good for human beings. Wikipedia says hydrogen cyanide, sometimes called prussic acid, is a chemical compound with the chemical formula HCN. It is colorless, extremely poisonous, and flammable liquid that boils slightly above room temperature. HCN is produced on an industrial scale and is a highly valuable procurer to many chemical compounds ranging from polymers to pharmaceuticals. HCN has a faint, bitter, almond-like odor that some people are unable to detect owing to a recessive genetic trait. The volatile compound has been used in inhalation, rodenticide, and human poison, as well as for killing whales. Cyanide ions interfere with iron-containing respiratory enzymes. In World War I, hydrogen cyanide was being used as a chemical weapon against the Central Powers by the French from 1916 and by the United States and Italy in 1918. But it was not found to be effective enough due to weather conditions. So unless FEMA is manufacturing business or making pharmaceuticals, they have no need for this order. Wikipedia also says a hydrogen cyanide concentration in the range of 100 to 200 ppm in the air will kill a human in about 10 to 60 minutes. A hydrogen cyanide concentration of 2,000 ppm, which is about 2,380 milligrams, will kill a human in about 1 minute. The toxicity is caused by the cyanide ion, which halts cellular respiration by acting as a non-competitive inhibitor for an enzyme in mitochondria called cytochrome C oxidase. As such, hydrogen cyanide is commonly listed among chemical warfare as blood agent. So we see here 103103 in San Bernardino, California, an evacuation shelter at Norton Air Force Base held over 3,000 evacuees following the fires in Southern California. Right there, you can check out the picture. It says the deep state is in big trouble. The deep state has sought to gain control of the United States through the Democrat Party. The recent primary elections and the polls demonstrate that the party and the deep state movement are dead in the water. Absolutely. Yes, the deep state still controls the State Department, DHS, and FEMA, but they're stymied, I believe that's how it's pronounced, in their attempts to expand their power. Although this is not going to keep them from trying. With the insurrection from the left ramping up, it's becoming increasingly clear that President Trump is likely going to have to resort to martial law in order to keep the country from falling into a civil war. Therefore, there is competition for the control over FEMA camps. In Carlsbad, California, there was a massive protest near the beach on Highway 1 against President Trump's policy of separating children from their illegal alien parents. The local news station said that the protest was organized by MoveOn.org. That means that George Soros is behind this deception. And we know from Soros, Cal Exit involvement, he's seeking to break apart the U.S. From a PR standpoint, I felt that Trump should have not separated children from their illegal alien parents because he gave his opponents ammunition. However, it is legal and expected. If I was if I was pulled over and discovered to have a simple user's amount of marijuana, do you think I'm going to be separated from my children when I'm arrested? When parents are arrested, they are automatically separated from their children. Why should illegal entry into the United States be any different? This is rhetoric, that it is being used to polarize the country. Maxine Waters and other liberals have been taken to harassing and endangering government officials, including White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders. Portland occupiers have taken over the ICE building in Portland, where the mayor is helping the occupiers to facilitate the felonious takeover. The mayor of Oakland is interfering in ICE activities all across the country. The signs are being drawn, and the country is headed for civil war. Trump has struck first. He has taken control of FEMA camps, as evidenced by the use of Brownsville Walmart FEMA camp detention center to house illegal aliens. However, if Trump is defeated or removed or assassinated, the FEMA camps will revert to the control of the deep state, and this will produce America's darkest days. If this ever happens, this is likely what will follow. 3-step process for total tyrannical control of the population of the United States. When you examine the sum total of the meaning of various executive orders and administrative actions of FEMA and DHS collectively, there emerges a clear picture of a 3-step process to gain control of the population of the United States. You can think of Agenda 21. You can think about all the ways that they put the chemtrails in the sky, and they put chemicals in our food and in our water, fluoride, etc. Bad stuff. The following has already been spelled out through Operation Cable Splicer, Rex 84, and FM 39.4. Not everyone's fate is determined when a communist fascist coup takes over the government of the United States and suspends the Constitution. However, for some people, there exits the non-negotiable future of termination without due process. Decades ago, Steve Quayle called it the Red List. Under Operation Rex 84 and Operation Cable Splicer, etc., there is a 3-step process to subjugate the American people. Stage 1. Stage 1 of the plot is particularly heinous. FEMA likes to use the term disruptors, who will be terminated with extreme prejudice. These people will be gathered up and taken to a remote location and executed. They most often will be taken from their homes between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., which is what the Gestapo did, so as to not arouse the attention of the community and to lessen the possibility of increasing resistance. Along these lines, when a communist fascist coup overtakes the government, Operation Cable Splicer, Garden Plot, Rex 84 will be in effect, and FEMA and DHS will be in control. DHS was actually created and molded after East German Stasi. The extreme actions of unwarranted arrests and mass executions are designed to remove the majority of the leadership or any resistance to the coup. A long-term friend of Dave Hodges, a FEMA counter-bioterrorism expert, told him, if the powers that cannot be quell the rising tide of populism, please note, this was said in the pre-Trump days of 2012, that millions would be gassed. My FEMA friend bugged out to secure locations with like-minded people from FEMA because they saw the writing on the wall. Further, this paralleled the story of Rosebud, brought forth by the Hagman report. Follow them, they're good stuff. Basically recounted the same intentions to gas the people in times of resistance to the new authority. Recommendations by the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection offer the following tips that all residents take 3 simple preparedness steps. Get a kit, make a plan, and stay informed. How will FEMA deal with these resistors? It just so happens that it is being reported in multiple publications that FEMA just purchased 2,500 gallons of hydrogen cyanide from a Brazilian chemical manufacturer, Ascal Química. In light of the Operation Cable Splicer et al., which is still on the books, the purchase of the hydrogen cyanide can only mean one thing. The following executive order demonstrates that the globalists have been planning these actions against the Americans for a very long time. Executive Order 1104 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing with public funds, designate areas to be abandoned, and establish new locations for populations. DHS has been preparing for the resistance to the coming new authority for a long time. Under Operation Cable Splicer in Rex 84, all levels of government will be collapsed into one central authority, and that centralized authority will be handed off to the global authority, most likely the United Nations or their proxy. So yeah, big news right there coming out. I also have this article I wanted to share with you, which is pretty interesting. It's short and sweet. Let me blow this up for you real quick. World Bank's legal immunity stripped, opening door for lawsuits. So again, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve, is in the news again. The Supreme Court of the United States has rejected World Bank claims of complete legal immunity, ruling that one of its arms can be sued in relation to lending activities. The 7-1 ruling could also open the American-based international organizations to threat of lawsuits over financing overseas development. For the World Bank, and let's remember that the chairman of the World Bank was fired by Trump, and now he's brought in one of his own men. I'm telling you, I do not see the Federal Reserve being around much longer. Thus, that money, that debt, that imaginary debt, all that money will be put into the U.S. Treasury, 350 million people. So 350 divided into 17 trillion is about 400,000 to 500,000 per U.S. citizen, which is amazing. Look that up, by the way. I'm not lying about that. For the World Bank, it means that it is now having to defend against a suit by members of fishing community in Madra, India, who contend that their homes and livelihoods were damaged by pollution from a coal power plant that was financed by the bank's private sector lending arm, the Washington, D.C.-based International Finance Corporation. Bharat Patel, General Secretary of the Association for the Struggle of Fisher Workers, writes, one of the plaintiffs welcomed the historic ruling, saying, "This is a huge victory for the people of Mandra and a major step toward holding the World Bank accountable for the negative impacts their investments are causing." And it's not just India, it's worldwide, everybody. ICIJ covered the plight of the fishing community and the bank's refusal to recognize its claims as part of a 2015 evicted and abandoned investigation. The project found that 3.4 million people were physically or economically displaced by World Bank funded development projects between 2004 and 2013, and that the bank often failed to follow its own rules for properly resettling these communities. They don't care about us. The legal case surrounded a 1945 law which granted international organizations the same immunity from suit as foreign governments. The court had to decide how that law would be impacted by a second one from 1976, excluding commercial activities by foreign governments from this immunity. The February 27th ruling does not reportedly affect either the United Nations or the International Monetary Fund, as they have complete immunity under their characters. The World Bank argues that the exclusion on the immunity of commercial activities did not apply to it. If it could be pursued for its developmental loans. That was a bad sentence. The bank maintained it would become a target for lawsuits around the world that would cripple its ability to perform its core missions of fighting poverty and promoting development. Those concerns are inflated, the Supreme Court held in its ruling. Justice Stephen G. Breyer dissented. Newly appointed Justice Brett Kavanaugh did not participate. Breyer warned that the majority ruling would create uncertainty for the international organization involved in finance. Wow. Uncertainty for the international organizations involved in finance. Two lower courts had sided with the World Bank on immunity questions. Lawyers for Earth Rights International, which represents the plaintiffs, say that the World Bank must be accountable if for its actions or its negligence harming local populations. The fishing community's case against the bank will now be allowed to proceed in lower courts in the U.S. Immunity for all legal accountability does not further the development goals of international organizations, said Marco Simon, the General Counsel for Earth Rights. It simply leads them to be careless, which is what happened here. So again, people don't like the central banking system. They don't like it. They know that it's all it is stealing and money laundering and theft from the hardworking people of this world. And I believe that Trump is definitely going after them. I believe that we will see a reset, a financial reset, and everything will be then switched over to a gold-backed dollar and none of this central banking garbage. So, my friends, with that being said, if you enjoyed this and you found it informative, would you please go ahead and subscribe to my channel? You can follow me on Twitter at True Reporting. That's where I get out all of my information. YouTube shadow bans me a lot. So the only way that I can get in touch with you, per se, is through Twitter. So please follow me at True Reporting. And don't forget to leave a like. You can donate to this channel by going to my PayPal or my Patreon in the description box below. And I will talk to you guys very soon. There will be a live stream, live call-in show from 8 to 9 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time. And that's always a good time for all of us. It's an open forum. All I ask is you respect each other. I will talk to you soon, my friends. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.